right, welcome into the Gator Report. We're joined by a special guest today. We have Coach TP. So we're going to get into last night's game, but before we do, we have three games left.
3 games left on JV.
3 games left. So first of all, welcome into the Gator Report.
Thank you.
For all the folks that watch that maybe don't know a lot about you, can you tell us a little bit about your background and where you went to high school and college and what brought you to the Gator program?
So my name is Tyler Poirier, and I graduated from River Ridge High School, 4-year varsity guy, 3-year starter, and then I went up to Adrian, Michigan, and played 5 seasons there because I got a COVID year. And
there you go.
4-year starter, and then once I graduated, Coach Goodspeed called me. I was like, hey, you want to talk? So we met at the taco place on 54. And he was like, so what do you want to do? And I was like, I'd like to start coaching somewhere. And then we just started talking. He asked if I wanted to come to Land O'Lakes, and I came last spring. So I was excited to get started, and I love it here so far. So
yeah,
so keep going.
Yeah, so I had the privilege to coach him over at Rivers when I was there. Just a great character guy, phenomenal athlete, and his goal was, he may have been undersized at the time a little bit, didn't have a top end speed, but he said, I'm playing college football and I want to get my degree, and that's what I kind of focus on with the high school athletes. Like, if that's what you want to do and you have the grades because he's sharp. He went and fought and got earned a spot up at Adrian University. And it's always fun for me to be able to flip on the TV and see my former players play.
Sure.
So, and we would always talk through the seasons. I keep up with them. And then when he graduated, I knew he was going to be back in this area, and he wants to get into the school system and do that as far as his degree goes. But I mean, I told him, I said, we're doing a lot of the same things we did at River Ridge. What do you want to do? He says, well, I want to coach. And I said, well, I would love to have you here. I think the boys would, get a lot of knowledge from you, and I think he's a perfect fit. I mean, he meshes with the boys good. The boys love him and respect him. He brings a lot to the table, and he gets to learn from Coach Hendricks. And so, we didn't really know where he was going to fit. I mean, he played both tight end, a little bit of offensive line, and defensive line for us at River Ridge. Went up to Adrian College. He played linebacker, D-line, running back, I think, at one point. So just a well-shaped knowing the game, especially at the college level. Yeah. So I didn't know we wanted to put him. And then, Coach Hendricks and I started fighting over him a little bit. Oh, I want him on my side of the ball. No, I want him over there. But yeah. I think right away we identified that, he could be really good on the defensive side of the football. So we started sprinkling him through with Coach Bloom and everybody over there. To give him a more rounded knowledge of how the defense was working. And then halfway through the spring and going in the summer, we thought, he's got a pretty good grasp of the defense. We'd make him the JV defensive coordinator. And he's kind of run with it and, built on top of that and just doing a phenomenal job. The defense for the JV is doing really good.
Well, that's a big responsibility because Coach Hendricks takes a lot of pride in his Gator defense.
Yes, he does.
So you've got to prepare these guys for the next level. So understand the JV team is doing really well. Maybe not the outcome that we needed this past Thursday, but the team seems to be performing very well. What do you look forward to in the last part of the season here?
Well, they're always ready to go. I think the JV team is a really good class. We got a really good class of freshmen this year. Honestly, they made my job easy. They just go make plays for me. And we still got a lot of work to do with Mitchell coming up, but I think we're ready to go.
Mitchell's always going to be tough. That's for sure. It doesn't matter if it's JV or varsity. But we've talked about this before. This is, we're excited to see a program being built, and it's people like you coming on board, working under Coach Hendricks and getting these guys prepared so when they get to the varsity level, they're ready.
Yeah, they can start running.
Yeah.
And that's kind of the stepping stones of, the program. The first 2 years, we didn't have a specific staff for the JV. Now, he does help us on varsity and does a great job with the D-line, linebackers, wherever we put them. But they also, manages that role of the JV defensive coordinator. And now they have their own, ideas, and which lines up what we're doing on varsity, but, their own little sprinkle into it. So it just kind of gives us that added benefit so those kids down at JV develop quicker.
Yeah, and I think it's there's a certain mindset that Hendricks expects, and you can instill that mindset really early on with these guys. So we're excited to see what's going on down there, and good luck in the next couple of games. I want to turn attention to Coach Goodspeed here. Just a heart-wrenching Week 5 loss to the Yellow Jackets. Fell short by a single point. I want to talk a little bit about last night's game and let you highlight some things there, and then I want to kind of get into mid-season, broader questions. So, what do you think the key moments were last night? I mean, we can always go back to film and say woulda, shoulda, coulda, this and that and the other thing, but after reviewing the film, were there some key moments that stood out to you about,
Yeah, the biggest thing for me offensively was what I was really excited to see was after halftime, we came out of the locker room and we started, I think we're on the 20, and put a nice long drive, which ended in 6 points to come out of halftime. And that's something we haven't been able to do. And it was a lot on the ground, and the offensive line said, we're going to pound you and we're going to get after you, and they did it all the way down the field. So that was exciting to see. Another nice little turning point for me is I think we developed some toughness last night. A lot of the times you see in the games, we got a cramp or somebody on the ground, am I boo-booed, am I not boo-booed, get them to the sidelines. I mean, there was a lot of fight. I saw a lot of Leesburg guys, going down, I'm cramped up or something like that. So just the toughness and where we at physically with that football game. Obviously, Leesburg is a very good opponent. They have been traditionally for many years. I don't think I wouldn't say it's a measuring stick of where we're at, but for me, it was great to see the fight that we had with a very, very competitive team in Leesburg. I mean, look at their schedule; they may now go 10-0. I don't know, but they're a good, well-coached football team, and we were right there every moment. Our issue right now is we got to figure out how to finish a football game.
Yeah. All right. So reflecting on the season overall, despite being 1-4, teams have been competitive in every game.
Yeah.
Losing by only 15 points across the last 4 losses.
Yeah.
What do you attribute that to? How do you keep the team motivated? Despite the record?
I mean, those are tough lessons to learn in a football season. And each week it seems like we have just a little breakdown somewhere that causes us to lose that football game. Obviously we have a little bit of youth, but I mean, that's never an excuse because we do have seniors. But it's just finishing on special teams. And then we fix that and there's a breakdown somewhere else. So it's these little things that just keep happening. How do you keep motivated? You turn on the film and understand that, we're not playing, easy games. There's no, we're going to roll the Land O'Lakes helmet out onto the field. No, you got to be competitive and you got to play every down. Some games we've played in the past where, maybe you don't gel offensive line wise right out the bat and you can get away with it. But this is, the teams we've been playing, they're good football teams. But Williston, obviously River Ridge, they're 5-0 I think right now. Freddie's doing a great job over there. And I think the thing that you keep pointing out on film to them is how close we are. And these teams that we have played building up to getting into our district, we've seen a physical running back. We've seen a big physical defensive line. We've seen a big, fast, strong defense. Opposite of that, we've seen a good running team. We've seen a good throwing team. We've seen guys that want to pound you, guys that want to finesse you. So, we're getting every look, and we're taking a lot of lessons from that. And hopefully, once it all clicks, then we become a much better football team for it.
Yeah. So you kind of went right into my next question, which is the schedule, the tough schedule so far. I call it big boy football. it's this level of competition is sort of how you prepare for the district games, which are upcoming. So I think you're right. It would have been nice if we would have fallen on the right side of the scoreboard. I see you nodding your head a lot about the toughness and watching these guys, in the trenches. And we've talked about it, many times. The football team only goes as far as the line will take it, right? So, all right. So even with the current record, Gators this week made the Pasco County Power 7 ranking. What does that recognition mean to you or to the team, and how does it impact your preparation moving forward?
It doesn't affect me one side of it. I mean, I'm glad they do, and it's fun for the talking heads and all that out there. I mean, that's part of what sports are.
Right.
And I think, Andy and them do a great job with it. But as far as mindset, right, it's where we're getting prepared for the next game, no matter where we're at in any kind of rankings.
Yeah.
I mean, it's the next football game mentality. I mean,
Yeah.
Obviously you deal with that over my career over time, where we're playing college or, where you're at statistically in the pros and all that stuff. And again, it's fun to talk about.
Right.
But for me, the mindset is, with the next game, we have a big challenge in front of us, and let's get going.
Yeah, so it's the outside noise, right?
Yeah,
Everybody can talk about whatever they want, but it's
For sure.
you don't let it impact the team. But
Yeah.
I think it's it just kind of reinforces what I believe in the fact that there's the respect out there that a 1-4 team is still respected enough to get into that ranking, just because of how tight you guys have played these games and the level of competition that you've played.
Well, it's funny you say that, and I think you take, as a coach, you take those lessons and you try to explain them to the boys about how you learn this lesson here and you learn that, but you just spoke about it. It's big boy football we're playing. So it's, Coach Hendricks sent me this clip from Golish, the head coach at USF, and I totally agreed with him. Everybody wants to sit around and say there's a moral victory. Well, there's the perception and reality, right? Perception, hey, we're a good football team. We've been playing a tough schedule. We're on the brink, all that stuff that coaches say. But the reality is 1-4.
Yeah.
So we have to figure out a way to play 4 quarters, be solid in every aspect of the football game, throwing, running, special teams, D-line play, linebacker, everything across the board, to put that all together and get the win that we want and need. But it's the lessons that you learn from these tough schedules to say that you have to play every down, right? This isn't a team that's going to lay down. We're not going to play any team that lays down and says, "Oh, the game's over." They're 2 touchdowns ahead, or they're X amount of points ahead.
Yeah.
It's you got to play every down.
So you're the closest to being a former player, new in the coaching side. Do you, reflecting back on close games and seasons where you've been in this situation before, what do you say to the guys? How do you see them handling this situation?
Well, just got to keep on fighting, and I think that's what we're learning, like what Coach Goodspeed said. Like, no one's going to just give you a win. There's no point in playing football if people are just going to sit down and not play football against you.
Yeah.
So, I mean, they're getting tougher. We still got a little bit of ways to go, but I think we're finding our stride and getting where we need to be.
Yeah. The old saying, chop wood, carry water, right? That's all you can do.
Yeah. Well, so let's look ahead at we've got next week the first district game against Mitchell Mustangs.
Yep.
What are your thoughts on the team, their team? How do you plan to game plan and prepare?
Well, I mean, obviously Mitchell's been doing a great job this season. Pretty explosive on offense. Defense, they're always going to, be very well coached, and they're going to play for the coaches over there. To me, it's always, the formula really doesn't change in any football game, no matter who you play. You got to win up front, and that I think that's the formula. Every team from the NFL to the lowest team in the NC2A,
Right.
You got to win up front. So.
Let's talk about leadership. How are the leaders on the team stepping up during this challenging stretch. Can you share any specific examples or any guys on the team that are showing leadership?
Yeah. So it's funny. You kind of think of who your senior leaders are going to be, who your underclassmen leaders are going to be, and you start to kind of see them in the off season and in the preseason, and then all of a sudden guys will step up that you never thought would be a leader. One of them comes to mind is Brendan Thompson. I mean, he's just been taking that offensive line and kind of putting his emotion into it and just playing at a high level, and urging on the young guys that are next to him to learn, and he does a great job with it, and he kind of surprised me. I didn't see it 2 years ago when I first met him, and you kind of started seeing the off season by his commitment, and then this year he kind of took the bull by the horns and just I'm going to step up and be a leader. And there's all kinds of leaders, the guys that do it on the field, the guys that are vocal, the guys that aren't as vocal. Christian Volstead, not the most vocal guy, but I mean, just a natural leader. I mean, he's not going to say a lot, but he's going to do every little thing right and do it at 1,000 miles an hour.
Right.
And he's fun to watch play football. I mean,
Yeah.
he kind of is the epitome of a middle linebacker. He
Right.
flies around, and you can see it on the field.
Yeah.
So guys like that.
Those are the kind of guys that I think, if you're aspiring to be good, you look at good players and you try to mimic what they do, right? How do they practice? How do they, watch film
Yep.
and prepare? And so you can be a leader just by your performance.
Yeah, and it's a great point you make. And it's funny because we've had a lot of hot days. It's Florida, it's hot, it's football time, you have pads on, and, it just gets hot.
Right.
Brendan, he doesn't care. I'm going to be here, I'm going to get better. He runs around. You never hear him complain about the heat, never complain about this. He just wants to be a better football player. Same thing with Volstead. I mean, you'll never hear a peep out of him. He wants to get after it. So that's the kind of leadership, and I think that's starting to sprinkle into especially the offensive line is that kind of toughness. You could probably speak more about Volstead, but I mean, just guys look to him, and I think they get a raised elevation between him and Donnie and Dean, across the board over there. I think there's a lot of good leadership, and I think that's part of the, character of the defense right now is there's a lot of good leadership over there.
Okay, with 3 district games ahead, any adjustments from, we're halfway through the season. You got all your district games moving forward.
Yep.
Are there any changes to strategy, moving personnel around or anything on the second half of the season, or is it stay the course?
Well, no. I mean, we're always, guys are starting to get experience. The young guys are starting to get experience, so you can plug them in different places. We had a couple JV guys up for the last couple games because they've been, showing out on JV. So you got to give them those opportunities. We've made adjustments on special teams. I think our kickoff was much better last night. We still have some ways to go. Special teams were, didn't have the field goal we missed on, so there might be some adjustments there. And then, if there's a guy stepping up and he's consistent, then just plug and play. I mean, they know the system by now. It's not going to change that much, but if there's a guy stepping up and having that hustle and effort and knowing what to do and when to do it, then by all means we'll make those adjustments.
All right, so we've talked a lot about the record. Despite the record, making the playoffs is still a very real possibility with the whole new playoff, the way the rankings work and strength of schedule and all that. So how are you keeping the goal within sight to the players, and what it's going to take to get a playoff berth?
So I mean, all that stuff's on the table, yes. But you can't focus on that. You just have to focus on the next game in front of you and doing what you can do on that. From coach to player, staff to staff. But when you talk about the big thing as a head coach, I mean, the goal is, every year is to win a district, get to the playoffs. And the first year I was here, we got to the playoffs, and we lost the first round. So the next step is to go a little bit further, right? So, but you got to schedule teams that you're gonna, possibly have that same competition level later on, so you can learn those lessons. Now, that makes us better, I think, for the season. I think that makes us better as a program, and I think it sets you up down the road. Now, the main goal is to win the next football game, and then when that all comes, that'll take care of itself. But when they first put the new district listings out, at one time it was going to be a huge district, and you had your power rankings, and you had to schedule those teams that could get you there, and then it turned back into the district we have today. So all those things matter, and again, like we spoke about before, we just don't want to play football. We want to play competitive football.
Okay. Any final thoughts for the Gator fans as we go into the second half of the season?
Yeah, I think it was a great atmosphere last night. I think you did a great job from the press box. The band sounded great, and I think if you watch the game as a fan and take a picture of the whole thing, you can see us getting better like this. And I think the physicality that you see on the field is getting higher. I think we're making better, consistent plays. And I think overall, you kind of see offense and defensively, we're moving in the right direction.
Great. Well, that's all I got for you today.
Yeah.
I certainly, as always, appreciate your time.
Yeah, no, it's fun to do and talk football.
And we appreciate having you
Thank
join
you.
us today and tell us a little bit about the JV program, and wish you lots of luck on the second half of the season.
Yep. Always good to see you.